Alright, here we go again. Wounded Waters bleeding, healing Serene into France. I think this is the last dangerous adversary. I mean, it also is the last adversary, but it is also dangerous. And that downgrading into explorers may be a bit more dangerous here than against most other adversaries. But we will see how it goes. I don't think I ever thought to play this matchup with Serene. It just seems like an obviously worse idea than playing a droiding. But we'll just see how it goes. So we'll explore into wetlands. Turn 1 we don't get the double explore, but we do get the Russia 6 explore. Let's add it to land 2. Preferably I would like the France 6 explorers in lands where it dies to ravage. My second choice is lands that have disease, and land 2 qualifies. So let's draft a miner here. France also has besides the obvious downside, that must be that, right? Besides the obvious downside with France that you don't get to, that explorers tend to spawn cities. Sorry, spawn towns. You also have the downside of having more misses in your miner card deck if you go Serene. Because one of the things that Serene has that droiding does not have is a bunch of blight heal. And against France, that's really, I'm not going to say entirely pointless, but pretty close. Anyway, I'm thinking maybe playing Boon of Corrupted Blood here. Take out that Explorer here. The one thing I don't like about this plan is that it will mean that next turn I get a double Explorer and not have water to deal with that. So maybe there's a line of play in which I play a card that has water instead? Which would that be? Charge to the water's edge would prevent a town here. It just seems kind of dangerous because it's kind of my emergency option. So currently we're looking at +2 towns, right? One from land 3 and one from land 1. It's gonna build a city and then try to trade a town. I could do something like pull the town from land 1 into land 2. And no, never mind, then it's gonna build a town regularly. That's not actually a town reducing move, it's just a city reducing move. So the town reducing move is to kill the explorer in land 3. But as a town reducing move this turn, what about next turn? Like, theory I could play something like Bloodwater and Bloodlust here. See, in terms of innates, it's ideal to play Boon of Corrupted Blood here. And it will be strong on turn 3 and turn 4 slow. It's just that against France, that can be too late. I guess we're going to try it and see how it goes. That means I have to place my presence in here so I can kill that explorer. I think I have good coverage of the board. It means I heal animal the first turn, as most of the time. Kill that explorer, flip the event and ignore it, visions out of time. That can be good or bad. Build that city, that's going to annoy me later. And then also add a town too. Want to chase and land without towns, right? And I think we're going to pick land 2 again. It's just very clear that land 2 is not a land we're going to solve. There's, on this particular board, a danger in doing that. You could get the old wetlands into jungle, into coastal, into wetlands, but it's not that bad here. We draw wetlands turn 1, so we have a little bit of time before it can come up again. And we draw mountain anyway. Interesting. And then there's still the front 6 explorer to place. Place it in land 3. Hope it gets eaten by the beast eventually. It's not as good as getting it killed by a Dahan or placing it in a land with disease, but it's like the next best thing. And also land 3 is not gonna come up next turn. So it is coastal, so it has a higher chance of coming up in phase 2, but I mean, what can you do? At some point you've got to make a decision. So things I could do here. I mean, land 8 I'm just going to let go. It's gonna build a city, which is fine by me. It's not a town, because it's not coastal, it's not gonna spawn a town either. And town count is really what I'm scared of here. Then land 5. Yeah. What I'm thinking is I could be... Oh my, I could take a bunch of blight if I wanted to and reduce the town count. I'm not sure how I feel about it. So the line of players, what if we pulled a town out of here next turn? Push a Dahan into there, pull a town out. It's still not as good as I would like it to be. So my issue is fundamentally that I want to act on land 5 because it can reduce, kill one explorer, reduce one town build. But land 1 has 2 Dahans that I would like to not lose. So there's an argument for acting in land 1. But I think it's more important to take care of town count, so I need to act in here. 1 fear from Sanguinary Taint. And then push that, push that. And if I push it into land 1, it just dies. Then I'm unhappy. But if I push it into land 1 and I either draft a defend or blade charge with a water's edge, then really good things happen there. I could also try setting it up for Slave Rebellion, but honestly I think Slave Rebellion is gonna go into land 7, right? Could push it into land 2 for Slave Rebellion, but that is dangerous. You could get a disease event that kills a Dahan and then what? Yeah, I'm not sure about land. I think we're gonna do it. We're gonna push into there, we're going to pull out the town and then either back. I guess I'm not gonna pull out the town necessarily, but we're either defending that or we are going to pull it out, one of the two. So that is where we hope we see defend, and even if we don't. So here's the question. I have seen defend, but it's not on element. Should I do it anyway? I mean, it's really expensive to do that, right? And first of all, this draft is bad. I could play that later on, honestly, in turn 4 maybe. But it requires a Sacred Site, so not my favorite. That card is just, here, take 2 elements, get no effect. I'm not generally a fan. Sometimes it's really useful, but most of the time it's just no text. At least it's 0 cost, right? So I think the options, we cannot play Promises of Protection here. Promises of Protection could do good things in land 1, but we've already played Animal last turn, so if we play Promises of Protection this turn, then we are locked into Roiling, which, objectively speaking, that is probably what you should be doing. If we were just optimizing win chance and not also forcing the Serene build, we should draft Promises of Protection, gather a bunch of Dahan into there, have the counter strike, kill all the stuff in there, and go and play Roiling instead. And that would be good. But given that we want to force water, the issue with that, I mean, it's fear. It doesn't have a beast in there, sadly. It costs me an innate though, and I don't think I can lose that. This turn I need my Sword and Spill Innate, I believe. Need to print more builds, the town count is close enough already. Which means none of these cards are gonna help me this turn. Blade Charge with the Water's Edge and then draft a card for later, and I am drafting Promises of Protection in the hope of playing it turn 4. This means if I see another card that doesn't have any water or any good water, then it's kinda bad. And it also means I'm kind of gambling here. But such is life. Trying to make the best out of a good situation? No, that's not how it goes. You know what I mean. Put that into here. Sadly, without the downgrade, we are not Serene yet. And then hope that we draft or we get a defend event. And if not, yeah. So, wait 1 second. What happens if we don't defend? Because it doesn't actually kill anything then. It kills the Explorer man. That is pretty bad. Is that really something worth risking? I mean, the Dahan are dead, right? There's no way around that. So I guess given that they are already dead, might as well give myself a chance of having good things happen here. Is, I guess, the best reasoning I can come up with. Investigation of dangers. Add 1 Dahan to a land without invaders or Dahan. 1 explorer to land. That is not what I wanted to see. It's either land 4 or land 6. It has to be, right? And that means whichever I pick, if it gets chosen next turn, I will not be able to push all of the explorers out. Okay. Prey on the Unwary. Each beast destroys 1 presence. 1 explorer. At least that happens. Each spirit with at least 3 Dahan amongst its land may use the slow power now instead of later. I do have that. And I could use that. So here's a question. Do I want to push the Dahan from land 2 into land 1? It costs me my slow build. What is it? In slow, I would try to prevent a build, which I cannot do if I use my slow power now. It would guarantee that the city dies. I think it's not worth it. It's tempting, but it's all about turn count. This game start is... wow. -2 Dahan. Yay. I guess we're killing that. It's not like we're gonna kill the city anyway, right? And then we build a town here, leaving us with 2 towns left in the pool and a city. Defend would have been so good. We are kind of playing the game where we try to limit the amount of towns they produce, instead of the game where we reduce the number of towns they have on the board. And that is just really dangerous into France. Can easily lose to that. We also got unlucky here with hitting the land that we chose for investigations of danger. And then it's our slow, and we use Swell and Spill, and we push out those turn to land 2, and if we get the jungle next and then hit the sea skip event, then we just lose. But I don't know if there's any better way to do that. In 2 turns we will see the town destruction, slave rebellion, right? So that town is dead on the turn that it ravages. That is something, I suppose. We need high impact cards. That's also why I drafted Promises of Protection. I don't think we have the leeway here to draft a card that has no effect on our board. Not with the game going like this, and no matter what elements it has. I guess that's it. I don't see anything better. We're still on track of building 1 more town and then getting 1 more in the escalation. But that should not be lethal. Except, of course, that all sorts of events can happen that immediately kill us here. At least we're turn 3 now. The game starts. Let's hope for a good miner. Alright, man. Here are the good miners. I'm not in position to use them, but I could be into position to use them next turn. I guess that means if I survive this turn, then things will be great. Between all of these, it has to be Sap the Strength of Multitudes. It's the best out of these. But also Confounding Mists and what's the last one? We Pour is Lost are generally good cards. One thing that we have going for us at least is we have great elements. Our turn 3 and 4 will be great. It's just a question of whether or not we survive until turn, say, 4 slow or so. And if so, then I think the game is won, but gotta get there first. This turn we're looking like we're taking 2 Blight. I could Promises of Protection. I could Sap the Strength of Multitudes. So, is there can I lose due to the Blight card killing me? And I think the answer is there's at least one Blight card that will have me build in 4 different lands immediately. I'm not sure if I can make that all be cities. So the answer is probably yes. We can probably win if we lose if we flip the Blight card. So that's an argument for playing Sap here. It's a pretty sad argument, because Sap would be really good next turn in land 7. But I can probably deal with land 7 somehow. Could play that if I wanted to. Honestly, maybe that would be good. It's not innate maximizing. Innate maximizing would be playing something like 2 water animal cards, and it would be great and slow. But what it would give us is that we have defend here or there and kill a bunch of invaders for it. And I kind of would like that. Kill at least 1 tower and prevent 1 Blight. So what I'll do is I move this into here. Actually, I'll not move it. I'll forget Boon of Corrupted Blood in place and one of my destroyed presences instead. And then I'll gather into here and defend. I guess the point of Promises of Protection is that I don't need to defend. Could also do that. Where will my Dahan be? In land 5 and in land 7 only. But I'll move them around a fair bunch with Swell and Spill and Sanguinary Taint. I mean, the other line of play is that I just set the Strength of Multitudes here. And not take the Blight, not go Blighted, but also don't destroy anything in the counterattack. I think this is the long-term stronger play, but I'm just too worried about bad events to rely on that. Or bad Blight card flips. So we're going all in on this, I guess. And then for next turn we get Slave Rebellion. We probably take more Blight in land 4 due to that. Because we don't hit Swell and Spill level 2. And then next turn we only have slow cards. So I suspect that means we go Blighted Island next turn. Is that fine? No, I don't think that is that good, because if I'm doing my math correctly, what happens then is that we still have the same slow amount, the same small amount of leeway for. We're still within event kills us range, right? And if we're in event kills us range this or next turn anyway, then I might as well play the stronger long-term play. If that is the case, then I should let these 2 go Blighted. I can do that. Take 2 Blight. And hope I don't draw any lethal events. Just to double check, I'm on track for +1 town, +1 city. Oh, I have Serene online. That changes things too with promises of protection, huh? But still, playing it this turn is just illegal. I think I would like something like Call of the Dahan ways. I would like more Dahan for next turn. And I think I would like Wreck with Pen and Grief to downgrade a town somewhere. This would have been good too, but it's a little bit more unreliable. With Disease you can usually prevent a town as well, but if you draw Disease Skip then there's nothing. You just die. And Wreck with Pen and Grief downgrades a town, which is probably more reliable. Okay, this is also the world in which we don't forget Boon of Corrupted Blood yet, because not destroying a presence is not useful. We destroy the presence in land 5 instead, and we put it in land 1. That seems good, right? And then we gather this into land 2, and we're just taking the 2 blight, and we're hoping that neither the Blighted Island card nor the event adds towns. And if they do, then what? Yeah, no, the issue is that every line of play that solves that kind of needs promises of protection this turn, and I don't want to do that. So let's hope we're not dead. Yeah, we're dead. There's such a land, right? I mean, is there any... We'll play it out, but I mean, was there something I could have done? Yeah, there was. No, I could have downgraded that town using promises of protection. Focus farming. Let's just add it to this land, who cares? Fucking events into France. There's still a Blighted Island card that saves us here. Destroy Explorers Among Lands with Beast. If we had a Beast in here, we could save us, but we don't. And then we Ravage once. We could also try Coastal. Let's see. Yeah. And we also get that Blighted Island card that wants to kill us. I mean, we can actually, maybe that saves us. I thought it was built in 4 lands, but it's Replace, and Replace is a lot better for us. Replace is actively good. Never mind, man. We're in business. There was never any chance to lose this game. I'll have to look into it after the game. Whether or not the line of play where I play Promises of Protection this turn was better. I still need to choose one land. And I'll choose this land. I kind of don't want to add another city there. So I kind of choose land 1 because it only has cities. I've chosen land 2, I've chosen land 5, I've chosen land 7. That only leaves 4 or 8. I don't want to choose land 4 because it builds this turn. So let's choose land 8. And I think I might actually choose a town here. I think I have the town country again. Okay. Saved by the Blighted Island card. How often can you say that card? How often can you say that? Down to town count 1. And then I'm probably, yeah, I guess if I go down to town count 1, then I should have replaced like that. What am I even doing? This land should be in that state. It had Explorer, Town, and cities. So it can either be 2 towns and a city if I replace the explorer, or it can be what it is right now. Okay. Then that is after build. Let's flip the explorer. It is sands, which means I have to blight here. I mean, have to, but I'll choose to blight there. I guess I do have to. I don't actually have any option. And then it's my slow. And since I'm still alive, I'm probably going to win the game. Or at least that's my hope. So one thing I can do is I can cut off the Dahan waste this land. Now it's defendable by sap and just kills itself. Although that means I should also find a way to use the Slave Rebellion, because if I'm not Slave Rebellioning in land 7, then I should find a second Slave Rebellion land. I think that seems possible, right? Yeah. I think the first thing we do is we swell and spill. 1 fear, push into here and downgrade. Is that correct? No. We keep the town, sadly. But having a huge explorer stack is just a disaster waiting to happen. So as long as we can afford it, it's okay to keep around a couple of towns and minimize the explorers. Alright, and then that was Swell and Spill. Then we use Wreck with Pain and Grief, 2 fear. We push a town into here and an explorer too, we downgrade the explorer. And then we use Sanguinary Taint, 1 fear, we kill that explorer, we push that Dahan into here. And we... yeah, that is maybe an issue with my... Actually, I pushed a town and an explorer into here and I chose to downgrade the explorer. Let's choose to downgrade the town instead, and then when I push the Dahan, let's choose to do that. Now I'm again at 1 town in that land. And the town dies to... what is it? Slave Rebellion. I think from here on the game is autopilot, which probably means that I was extremely foolish not to play Promises of Protection earlier, but let's see. This is also the turn in which we forget Boon of Corrupted Blood. Lets us just place 2 presences without anything. Need to be in here in the long term. You can only really deal with cities and lands that you're in. Actually, I should have a Sacred Site too. Let's have it in land 1. I think land 1 is in range 2 of everything on this board. Okay. But in terms of innate, you can see that last turn my innate just kind of solved the board, and this turn my cards and innate gonna do the same again. Pull that into here maybe, just to ensure we don't cascade in case we get unlucky. Use Promises of Protection. Oh, that's fine too. I had forgotten that, but I can of course just push them into here. Actually, I could push them into here and down. No, I cannot downgrade because I'm not in there, huh? I kind of need my Dahan to be closer to these lands. That's why I'm doing it into land 2. I could lose a Dahan here to something like... what is it? Disease damage event. But even if that happens, it's gonna happen after Slave Rebellion, so I can live with that. Alright, board looks reasonable. 3 towns, I'll kill 2 in slow, I'll build 0 in slow. And yeah, there's a danger here. And that is, I pull that into here. I cannot do that. I need to pull one of those 2 out of these lands. And the reason is that if I draw a mountain, then I have to place Blight because both of these have buildings, and I don't want to be forced to cascade. I think now that we are looking like it's when these kind of low probability scenarios need to be accounted for. Okay, that is I think my entire quick and growth done. I used Promises of Protection, I used Sap. I get Slave Rebellion. Slave Rebellion lets me kill a town in a land with 2 Tahan and replace it with a Tahan. Town count is 4, and then we draw and a different event. 4 of War touch the island. We are not going to take the top option. The top option can be extremely good, but it's gonna be a lot of Blight, and Blight is our probably primary Lux condition going forward. So we just get to sort of remove one. Did I use the did I place my France 6 Explorer last turn? I think I forgot. Let's just add it here. I think I placed all the other France 6 Explorers. Anyway, back to the event. I get to destroy a town without getting any fears, kind of remove-ish, except it triggers some destruction effects. I think I'd like to destroy this town. In land 1 it at least serves the purpose of slowing down the Explorer. And then add 1 Badlands to a land with the sea, with Blight. I'll add it. I don't know, that tends to be more bad than anything. Let's add it to land 4. And then on each board, gather 1 or 2 Dahan into land with Dahan setup symbols. Dahan movement, oh yeah. Give me like these 2 into here maybe. Actually, is that? Maybe into here? It's hard to say. I think this is more central. Alright. Ideally I would move 1 off to each of these, but... Tall Tales of Savagery. Each player removes 1 Explorer from a land with Dahan. Since we have France, we don't remove, we push. So, where do I want to push? I guess I'm pushing this into here. Okay. That is such a weird rule, that fear cards never remove Explorers, but they still destroy them. I forget that at least 80% of the time. Oh well, let's Ravage. In land 4 nothing happens, in land 7 they all die. Let's build. They don't build. Yeah, this is France. Once you've gotten over the initial hump in difficulty. I mean, this is probably the hardest Explore card they could have thrown at us, but honestly, I think that's not really game losing at this point. Alright. Then we're in slow. We have Sanguinary Taint at level 2 and Swell and Spit at level 2. I should try and get the most out of my Dahan. Actually, with Sanguinary Taint at level 2, the correct move was to actually use the Badlands, add it to land 2 or something. Well, I missed that, because I so rarely get Sanguinary Taint at level 2 at this point in the game, but it's fine. We need to take care of land 1, 2, and 3 because the lands that are about to ravage are already solved. We only have 2 Dahan here. I could maybe... I'm thinking I want to use them both. Or rather, both of these cards can push Dahan and I want to get the most amount of downgrades out of that. Which means I need to start in this land and then push into here or there and then act on the other land the following turn. I will have Waters Renew next turn. I will not get any fear from it because I'm not going to use it on a land that has... that's ravaging. My ravaging lands are empty. But I can probably use it on land 1 better. I probably use it on land 2 though. So that's an argument for... Okay, I cannot actually really use Valence Build to its full effect here because I don't have any turns to push, so let's just use Sanguinary Taint, 1 Fear, add a Beast. No, actually, I'm wrong. Let's say the 1 Fear is the Fear of Valence Build. Push into here and push into there, I think is correct. For maximum impact of Water's Renew next turn, I cannot have both Dahan into land, in land 2. So with these two, I could downgrade here and then hit it with Sanguinary Taint, but I think I'd rather print the city here. I downgrade that, and then I use Sanguinary Taint, another Fear, add a Beast in a new land, kill that town, push that back, downgrade that, and then they're actually building a fair amount of towns. Is that okay? I think the answer is yeah, it's okay. Because there's 0 towns on the board. Alright. Yeah, kind of not that much stuff I could push here this turn with Swell and Spill level 2. Gain. I've played 2 0 costs, so I can probably draft a major here. I could also probably replace Promises of Protection, but maybe I'll just play it once more. Probably not. I think I'm going a minor here. Funny. Actually, no, I'm playing that card. I was thinking that is just clearly the best card out of the draft, and it is, actually. But I want a 3rd Water Plus plant card. Alright. So, I don't really get anything from playing Draw to the Water's Edge this turn, but it's my only card with Water and Sun, so I kind of don't have any other choice. And then I can either play Wreck with Pain and Grief or Renewing Rain. Why not play a little bit of Renewing Rain? I wouldn't hate that. I mean, it doesn't really do anything. Light removal against trance, whatever, but... And it's a 1-cost card that does nothing, whatever. Not having Blight on the board can actually be sort of okay. Which means I need to play a card that has Animal and Water. Did I not use Bloodwater and Bloodlust? I don't think I used it, right? I don't think I did. Let's just add that here. Alright. Do I have any towns to pull? Not yet, but soon. I wish I was in land 5. It'll be fine. So I'm going to start with Water's Renew. I have it at full strength. I'll pull this down into here, giving me 1 downgrade here. Then I'll downgrade this. Then I'll add a beast. Then I'll replace this. And already looks better, huh? And with my draw to the Water's Edge, I suppose I'll draw that town into land 3. I don't know, man. Lands with just Explorer stacks just seem kind of sad. And they also don't get much fear from Water's Renewing them. We will see. But maybe there's a win condition fairly close. I only have 2 lands with buildings. I guess after the turn there will be more lands with buildings. Alright, let's flip. Let's flip the event. Farmer Seek the Dahan for 8. Well, that's a bad event for me on average, but it'll be fine, right? I'm seriously considering taking the bottom option. The next Ravage becomes a build, does really not do anything. But I'll add a town to a land with the Han. You know, maybe that is fine. I still have, I think I just have like 3 town downgrades that I cannot currently use by way of Sweat and Spill pushing towns, but they're not being any towns. I mean, land 2 will have a town, but other than that. Also, I would like something to defend with Sep, the Strength of Multitudes. So let's just add a town here. And then go the bottom side of that. On half of the boards, top side is just not interesting to me because what do I do with minus health? I don't do damage, who cares? New diseases. On half the boards running up, add 1 disease to a land with both the Han and invaders, do 2 damage to the Han there. I mean, it's either land 3 or land 2, and I'd rather lose a Dahan in land 2 because I have more here. So, and then we have 2 fear cards. Explore does not affect coastal lands. That's 1 turn too late, I guess. But we could still draw like wetlands, right? So far that is not bad. During the next build, skip the North Lambert. That is actually kind of relevant. Alright, we're going to Ravage, but instead of ravaging we build, but the lands are empty, so nothing happens. There's no special clause that they build towns in empty lands, right? There's not. And then wetlands. This does not build due to the disease, this does not build due to the disease, this does not build due to immigration slows. So they just don't build. Okay. Million explorers. That is very serene. And then they explore into mountain, which means that quarantine does not actually affect anything. I need to either place a town or a blight. And I think at 6 turn count I'll add a town. And maybe here, maybe have that be the big land and that be the small land. And then I have to add a France 6 Explorer where they're ravaging in coast. I don't want to add it in coast. I don't know, there's no other good lands, maybe add it to land 7. Then there's Renewing Drain. I'll heal this blight. And sadly I don't have the 3 plant for it to matter. And then Call of the Dahanways. I get to replace 1 Explorer with a Dahan somewhere, and I think land 2 seems to be correct. Because what it allows me to do is use Sweat and Spill on land 2, push that into here, push that into here, push that into... I don't know, man. I wish I was in land 5. And that downgrades here. And this I can defend or something. Yeah. I did not push any explorers. I guess I pushed that into here and downgraded 2, and then I just defend that land. Alright. So I am terror level 2. Not yet. Did I add my fear for Swell and Spill? I think the answer is yes. So I'm done with my slow. I still need 3 more fear to hit terror level 2. And I'm taking that, I feel. Something like play these 3 cards maybe. Draw to the Water Satchel. I get to place a presence, and I think I draft a card here. Let's gain a minor. Not great elements, but I take Madness, Terror turns to Madness. And I could play this one if I wanted to, instead of Sap, but I don't want to. So that kind of guarantees that next turn I'll either reclaim or miss my Waters Renew, but maybe that is fine. After 2 turns of hitting Waters Renew at full strength, usually board state is good enough that you can afford to miss it for a 3rd turn. I mean, we didn't get the fear part of it very much this game, but that is land we just zapped, right? 5 defend. Then we draw to the water's edge from here into land 7, I guess. And then I have to choose to Waters Renew either land 8 or land 5. I think we're gonna Waters Renew land 8, right? Push these two into here. Downgrading Explorer. Adding a beast. Downgrading city to a town, and then replacing a city with a town, and then next turn that just builds a city. Maybe next turn I'll just reclaim, play, sap the Strength of Multitudes, defend that land, use Waters Renew on land 5 and win the game that way. Yeah, that looks like victory, barring any bad... Yeah, that looks like victory, barring any catastrophic events. Or an event that, yeah. Either this or next turn. I don't like to win in Ravage, but maybe it's what we do here. Flip the event. We are blighted. Add 1 to an inland land. I can destroy 3 presents to prevent that. It's fine. I just healed 1. I mean, it goes to here, but still, I think 2 blight left is acceptable. We skip Ravages and land 2, which I don't like, but at least it's gone. Drive off the interlopers. Each player may push 1 explorer or town from a land with the Han. I'll push... no, actually. Let's push that into here. That clears this land entirely, and that doesn't ravage this turn anyway. We don't have any fear cards, we ravage and cost. This dies, and nothing happens here. We build a town here, we build a city in land 8, and we flip the explorer. Wetlands, that is fine. And I have to place a town, say in land 1, and then a front 6 explorer. Say in land 4, I don't know. I only have 3 lands with buildings. I can solve land 1 in slow. I can solve land 5 in... and by solve I mean reduce all the buildings from the land. So I can push out the town here and it downgrades. I can push the Dahan into land 6 and it downgrades. I can use Waters Renew there next turn or in one of those 2 lands and remove all the buildings. I can use Draw to the Water's Edge to gather one of the towns, and then I can use Promises of Protection. I cannot. Again, I'm one too many. Okay, that means I cannot win with downgrades alone. I also need to kill something in Ravage, I feel. Too bad. Oh no, actually I still have Wreck with Pen and Grief this turn. That ought to do it, right? So it looks like we're having a path to victory that does not rely on any kind of Ravage, which I much appreciate. I'd rather not try that event and see, I don't know, invaders skip all Ravage actions in lands with, I don't know, 2 or more invaders. Or whatever else there is. And then end up playing 1 more turn than I want to. Okay, so how does that line of play go? I start with Sanguinary... no, Sweat and Spill in here. Push that town into land 5, let's say. And push that into land 8. And push that into, I don't know, land 2. And I did my downgrades, right? Downgraded a town, downgraded a city. That was Sweat and Spill. And then I use Wreck with Pen and Grief. Also, pretty important, Terror level 2. I once lost a game because I managed to kill all the buildings, and then I noticed I was still in terror level 2 and lost because I had like all in on not having any buildings. And it turns out that set me up for losing the game in Ravage after that. So let's check that you're terror level 2 before you downgrade all the buildings. Alright, that is 10 passes, and I think it's clear that this is the kind of board that just loses all its buildings in quick. I guess I get an energy and a card draft. Let's take Razor Sharp. Why not? And then I use draw into land 1. And then I use Waters Renew, gather these two into here, downgrade this town, downgrade the Explorer, replace that city with a Tahan, and have no buildings on the board, and terror level 2 and win on turn 7 fast, yeah. So I think that game could have been a loss and maybe should have been a loss. The choice to risk the event in turn 3 was really lethal in almost all Blighted Island cards. So basically, I don't have a save to go back to or anything, but basically, if you remember, turn 3, our slow was extremely strong, and we kind of solved all the lands and whatnot, set it up for Slave Rebellion, set it up for defend in land 7 with Scepter Strength of Multitude. So our slow was really strong, the slow of turn 3. But to get there, we wanted to play 2 cards that had water plus animal. And I think we played Sap now. We played Call of the Dahan Vase and Drag with Pen and Grief, I think is the cards we played, to set us up for the super strong level 2 Swell and Spill, Sanguinary Taint, and then also have 2 cards in play that actually do good things. So that was really good, but it was also slow. And what I needed to do to guard against these kind of town ad events was play Promises of Protection instead of one of these cards. But that means I can no longer hit the... So for one, I lose a card that does something good and slow. But also I lose Swell and Spill level 2 for that. And Swell and Spill level 2 is usually quite useful against the adversary, because it allows you to move towns and downgrade towns. But there's just, on 2 card plays, if you play a card that only has Beast, then at most you can hit level 1 of Swell and Spill and Sanguinary Taint, and you can never hit Swell and Spill level 2, it's just not possible. I guess I could have hit Sanguinary Taint level 2 instead, except I wanted to heal water, and on neutral I'm favoring animal here, so I need to choose my element to be water in the growth, so that the Seeker path towards healing allows me to break my tie in the favor of water. So really, if you play an animal card turn 3, you still want to heal water, at most you can have level 1 of both of your innate. So basically I banked on the event not being catastrophic, and that allowing me to set up a slow that was so powerful that the game was basically won after that. And the slow really was that powerful, but we lost in the meantime, basically is what happened, and then got lucky with a Blighted Island card that allowed us to remove like 4 towns or whatnot, but you cannot expect that. Town ad events are not that rare, so the chances of hitting a town ad event is much higher than the chances of the Blighted Island card saving you. which I think makes this a play that worked out in this game, but a play that was bad, generally speaking, and I think I should have needed to play Promises of Protection there. I had some concerns about, see, Promises of Protection is a fast power, and if you play it fast in turn 3 and use it to downgrade a town before the turn 3 invader phase, then you're going into one last turn into the invader phase of turn 3. But then in turn 4, you don't have Promises of Protection. Rather, in turn 4, you then play the slow power, which means that you can get into the position where you just move the dangerous turn from turn 3 to turn 4, which is probably what would have happened, in fact, but also probably not that much of an issue, because I think turn 4 having less immediately useful cards is more acceptable, because you get the turn 3 slow between turn 3 invader phase and turn 4 invader phase, and in the turn 3 slow you can do a lot of things that make it okay for turn 4 to be a little bit weaker and fast, is I think what I was missing there. So yeah, thinking back on it, I think I needed to play Promises of Protection just to ensure that the bad event does not kill me. And we ended up not playing it, and we got punished for it, and then we got saved again by the Blighted Island card. But you should not, if your game is this close, then you should probably aim to play better next time. So next time it's not that close. And I think it's possible to play the game clearer. And often that means playing worse for the current turn and more around low events, low probability events that are terrible. But that is exactly what we needed, right? The chance of drawing a town ad event was low, but it was terrible, and we needed to play around that. Because if we draw neutral events, we were already winning, so it pays off to weaken our position from already winning to already winning slower, but also covering terrible events. Anyway, I'm kind of happy that I won still, but I should have played better, and next time ever. GG.